بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we still continue going over this tremendous book, Nawaqid al-Islam, the Nullifiers of Islam. We still are going over the explanatory notes, التعليق على نواقض الإسلام by the فضيلة الشيخ العلامة الشيخ أحمد النجمي رحمه الله تعالى. We have reached the 10th nullifier from the 10 nullifiers. So we have reached the final nullifier. وقال إمام المجدد محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى قال: العاشر إعراض عن دين الله تعالى لا يتعلمه ولا يعمل به. والدليل قوله تعالى: ومن أظلم ممن ذكر بآيات ربه ثم أعرض عنها إنا من المجرمين منتقمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us here in this ayah in Surah Al-Sajdah, and this is the proof for the 10th point. So it's in Surah Al-Sajdah and it's verse number 22. Ala kullin, the Imam, before mentioning the ayah, he says the 10th naqid, yani from the nawaqid of al-Islam, is the turning away from the deen of Allah the Most High. If an individual, he turns away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it's very important to mention what the Shaykh he mentions, because a person may have in his mind a concept of what turning away is. So a person, he may have in his mind a concept of what turning away is that may not necessarily agree with the true concept and what it truly means to turn away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Shaykh he mentions, he says, to turn away from Allah's deen, to turn away from the deen of Allah the Most High, not learning it nor acting in accordance to it. Naam. So he says that the turning away is by what? Is by not learning it and by not acting in accordance to it. And the proof of this is the statement of the Most High that can be found in which surah? Which one? Sajdah. What's the number of the ayah? 22. Ahsantum. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, what translated means, And who is more oppressive, who is more of a criminal than the one who, when the ayat of his Lord are mentioned to him, he turns away from them. When the ayat of his Lord are mentioned to him, he turns his back on them, he turns away from them. Verily, we shall exact retribution from the criminals. Verily, we shall exact retribution from the mujrimun. And the mujrimun, they are who? They are the criminals. They are the criminals. Naam. Shaykh Ahmed al-Najmi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Inna al-i'rad an dinillah, he said, verily turning away from the deen of Allah, wa adamu ta'allumih, wa aminu bihi, and not acting or not learning it, nor acting in accordance to it. Not learning it, nor acting in accordance to it. The Shaykh, he says, حَتَّى لَوْ عُرِضَ عَلَيْهِ, even if it is presented to him. Naam. He doesn't learn it, nor does he try to act on it, even though he is allotted the opportunity to learn it and the opportunity to act upon it. He's given the opportunity. Naam. But still he turns his back. The Shaykh, he says, كَتَرْكِ الشَّهَادَةِ and La ilaha illallah, like a person leaving off the shahada of La ilaha illallah, that they leave it off. They don't want nothing to do with it. The Shaykh, he says, أو قولها باللسان, or they leave it off by their tongues. They leave off the shahada in totality, or they leave it off by their tongues. They won't articulate it. Nah, they won't articulate it. And this is something that is important for us to know. They understand the nature and the dynamics of what it means to truly believe in La ilaha illallah. If you find an individual, for example, as you find sometimes from the kuffar, you'll be giving them da'wah, now I'm calling them to Islam, and they will say to you, well, I believe, but I don't want to take shahada. I believe, but I don't want to take shahada. Now, so the reality of this case is that what? They don't believe. They don't believe. Because if something is inside of your heart, it becomes easy for it to manifest upon your tongue. If it's in your heart and you truly believe it, then you will find that iman, it will manifest upon the tongue and it will manifest upon the limbs. Because iman in Islam is a qawl bilisan. It's a statement of the tongue. Amal bil arkan. It is an action upon the limb. وَاعْتِقَادٍ بِجَنَانٍ, and it's a belief inside the heart. يَزِيدُ وَيَنْقُص, it goes up and it goes down. Now this is iman. So if the iman is inside of the heart, then you find it won't be a great difficulty to manifest it and bring it upon the tongue. Because that which is in the heart, it will eventually make its way to the tongue, even if you try to hide it. That which is in the heart, it will eventually make its way to the tongue and be expressed upon the limbs, even if you try to hide it. Now, so if you find that the iman is present inside a person's heart, then you will find it manifest upon his tongue. You will find it visible inside of his limbs. Ala kulli hal. The Shaykh, he says that, or they refuse to say it. وَعَدَمَ التَّعَلُّمِ مَعْنَاهَا, or they will refuse to learn it. So you find they won't learn the meaning of La ilaha illallah. Naam. So they might say it. They might not turn away from it. They might take it and they might say it. But they turn away from trying to learn what it means. Right? They say, no, that's enough. We say it. That's it. The people say it. That's enough. They turn away from trying to learn what it means. The Shaykh, he says, مَعَ الْإِتِيَانِ بِمَنَاقِضِ أو بِمَنَاقَضَةٍ, even though they may be taken to the things that negate it. بِمَنَا أَوْ بِمُنَاقَضَتِهَا أَوْ لَهَا, they will be taken to things that negate it. So all the while they're saying La ilaha illallah, but they're taking and doing things that negate La ilaha illallah. Naam. They're saying La ilaha illallah, but they're making shirk. They're falling into acts of polytheism. But they refuse to learn about it. They turn their backs on it, saying, nah, it's enough for us. Naam. Ala kullin, this here shows you another example, another illustration of the danger of any da'wah that's devoid of educating the people on the meaning of La ilaha illallah any da'wah that is devoid, or any da'wah that does not stress and teach the meaning of it, tawheed, it shows you the dangers of these calls. The dangers of these calls. Now, and this is why it is important that we stay away from all of the likes of these calls that do not concentrate on tawheed. They do not educate the people about the tawheed, even though we live in a time where there are many infringements upon the meaning of it, tawheed, by those who claim to be practitioners of the deen of al-Islam. Now, this is why the learning of these things is important, because from it, it teaches us what not to do. It teaches us what not to do, what to stay away from, what to avoid. Ala kulli, the Shaykh says, وَعَلَمَ تَعَلُّمْ مَعْنَاهَا مَعَ إِتْيَانِ بِمُنَاقَضَتِهِ لَهَا, that they refuse to learn it, even though you will find the individual, he is doing things which contradicts it. فَإِذَا دُعِيَ إِلَىٰ أَن يَتَعَلَّمَ مَعْنَى لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ حَتَّى لَا يَقَعَ فِيهَا حَتَّى لَا يَقَعَ فِيمَا يُنَاقِضُهَا أَبَى وَأَعْرَضَ وَاسْتَكْبَرَ مَعَ وَهُوَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ وَاقِعٌ فِيمَا يُنَاقِضُهَا. He said, and you will find that if he is called, this individual, if he is called to learn about the meaning of La ilaha illallah, you will find, or learn about the meaning of La ilaha illallah, so that he will not fall into that which opposes it and that which will negate it. You will find that he will refuse, and he will turn his back, and he will be arrogant, even though all the while he is falling into that which will negate it. The Shaykh says, وَهُوَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ وَاقِعٌ فِي مَا يُنَاقِضُهَا. Even though with that he's falling into that which will negate La ilaha illallah, he still don't want to learn. He still don't want to learn. Then the Shaykh, he brings examples. Because a person, he may say, well, does this happen? Are we talking about something that is hypothetical? Right? Is this something that is just theoretical? Or is this something that actually happens? So the Shaykh, he brings examples how you can have a person who says La ilaha illallah, right? But he turns his back on learning it, even though he's falling into that which is the opposite of it. So the Shaykh, he brings an example. He says, كَالْعِبَادَةِ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ, like worshipping the awliya. Like worshipping the awliya. Naam. And we know this is present amongst the ummah. You have individuals who they call upon the awliya. They call upon the quote-unquote saints to help them in times of peril, or to aid them when they are in need of something and the like. Like there was an individual one time in Egypt, he gave us a story how he had a broken limb. Right? He had a broken limb. And it was time for the testing. It came up time for tests inside of school. He didn't mention whether it was the midterms or the finals. He didn't mention. But one of these testing times came up in school. He had a relative who told him, you have to go to Masjid Hussein, right? And you have to go there and you have to ask Hussein so that you can pass the test. Make dua to him so you pass the test, right? And he said this was his days of what he called Jahiliyyah. This was his days before he didn't know, before he started becoming serious about the religion and one who was practicing. He said, so he took the advice, even though he lived so far away from this particular masjid in Cairo. He took the advice and he went through the troubles of getting on the public transportation with the broken limb till he got there so he can make the request. He didn't mention to us whether he passed or not, Allahu a'lam, or I don't remember. But ala kullin, you find this was individuals who do what? Who say La ilaha illallah. They are Muslims. But out of gross ignorance, they have fallen into the likes of this due to the evil ones who are calling the people to such things. Right? So it is quite possible. It's quite possible that Muslims would do that. That they will go and they will pray and to the awliya, the quote-unquote saints. The Shaykh says, وَإِتْيَانْ إِلَى سَهَرًا. And you find this as well, أَوْ الْمُنَجِّمِينَ. Or you will find that they will go to the soothsayers. Right? They say La ilaha illallah, they believe. But then they'll go to the soothsayer, they'll go to the magician. Someone, because they want them to put magic on someone, or they want magic, use magic or something like this. So they will go to them and ask them for things and so on and so forth. Right? Or the Shaykh, he says, or they will go to the munajjimin, the astrologers, those who deal with astrology, right? What do you say? Yani, from the zodiac signs and all this type of things. Now, even if it's, because the early man, they explain, even if it's going to the column inside of the paper for the daily horoscope, that also enters into it. So you find Muslims who say La ilaha illallah and everything, maybe just got finished praying Fajr, but they'll pick up the morning paper and they'll go and look to the daily horoscope, and they're looking for whatever it is they're looking for. Wa'iyadu billah. These are things that go against La ilaha illallah. These are things which will remove La ilaha illallah. Naam. But it's because of the gross ignorance that they've fallen into the likes of these things. So you have individuals who purposely turn away from learning La ilaha illallah, but yet you will find that they are falling into the likes of these things. This is very dangerous. The Shaykh says, Aw tawaf bil qubur, or by them making tawaf, circumvalating the graves. Naam, going around the graves. وَسُوقِ النَّظَرْ لَهَا, and making oaths to the graves. Making oaths to the graves. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, أو يمتنع عن أداء الصلاة التي أمر الله بها فهو عمود الإسلام. He said, or he will refuse and forego the performance of the prayer of which Allah Ta'ala, He has commanded it, and it is the pillar of al-Islam. It is a supporting pillar of al-Islam. So you find that they have no concern for any aspect of the religion, they turn away from it and the like. So this is something that is tremendous, Juyaanee. It's tremendously dangerous. And the Shaykh says, فهذا الإعراض عن أصول الدين التي لا يكون الإنسان مسلما إلا بقبولها وإتيان بها وتعلمها وعمل بها. He said, so you find that he will stay away, or he will turn away from these fundamental aspects of the religion of which an individual, he cannot be a Muslim except if he accepts them, and except if he takes to their performance, or except if he takes to them and he learns them and he acts in accordance to them. Without this, an individual can't be a Muslim. But you find that there are individuals who they turn away from the usul of the deen arrogantly. And a lot of times it's because they have the belief that we are Muslims and that's it, that's all we have to do. We are Muslims because our family are Muslims. We are Muslims because the land we're from is a Muslim. We're always going to be Muslims. We don't care what no one says. We don't care what we do or don't do. We are Muslims. Why? Because in their minds they look at Muslim as if it is a nationality. They look at it like it's a nationality. You understand? So they say, no, we Muslims. Why are you Muslim? Because our family's Muslim, because the land we from is Muslims, because this and that. So we Muslims. Because they deem it as a nationality. Can't nobody tell me I'm not a Muslim. You understand? This is not how we look at the deen of al-Islam. It has nothing to do with a nationality. It has nothing to do with who your parents are. It has nothing to do with the or the region in which you come from. It has nothing to do with that. Each individual has to what? Has to accept. He has to submit himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam is not something that could be inherited. It's not something that could be inherited. If it could be inherited, then why did Ya'qub alayhi salatu wasalam ask his children, what you going to worship after me? You understand their lineage? You understand their lineage? What they were for, his forefathers was? Prophets and messengers from the greatest of mankind. But he understood, he knew that the outstanding background that you come from is not going to help you after my death. So he asked him, because he was concerned, what are you going to worship after me? You see? Why? Because Islam cannot be inherited. You can't say my parents Muslim, I'm Muslim, that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. Each individual has to accept, each individual has to submit himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each person has to submit himself by implementing the tawheed, by being compliant to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by freeing himself from shirk and from the polytheists, by doing those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mandated upon an individual from the origins of the deen. Each person has to be upon this. Each person has to learn those fundamental aspects of the deen that everyone has to know. And the ulama, they say bid-darura. Bid-darura. Everyone has to know this, bid-darura. It's like a person coming and he's saying to you, I didn't know Muslims even fasted. I didn't know fasting was even a part of the religion. We don't accept this from them. Knowing that we fast in the month of Ramadan is something that we know bid-darura. A person that come and say, oh, we fast in Ramadan, I thought we fast in Safar. You say no. Knowing that we fast in Ramadan is something that we have to know bid-darura. A person that comes and they say, well, I didn't know we even had to pray in Islam. I didn't know we prayed. I didn't know Salat was a part of Islam. We say no. These are aspects you have to know bid-darura. You have to know these things. No one is excused from being ignorant about the likes of these things. You understand? No one is excused about being ignorant with regards to the likes of these things. We have to know these things inside and out. So in order to perform the salah, we have to what? Learn how to perform the salah. So we have to learn. In order to fast correctly, in the month of Ramadan, then we have to what? Learn how to fast. We have to learn how to fast. In order to believe in the shahada, we have to what? Learn what the shahada means. So these are aspects of the religion that we have to take to, and we have to learn, and we have to study, and we have to implement. Because would you imagine that a person can be a Muslim and he's missing the shahada, the salat, and the siyam? Can you imagine that? A person's a Muslim but he don't do no shahada and no salat, no siyam. How's he a Muslim? Okay. He's a Muslim but he don't believe in the books, he don't believe in the angels, he don't believe in qadr, he don't believe in the last day. How he's a Muslim? Huh? He comes to you and says, I didn't know angels exist. We believe in angels? Yes, Salaam. You understand? These are things that are bid-darura. Then this is why it's important. And when one reflects upon this reality, then it becomes even more apparent to him, or they may better understand why the Prophet ﷺ said, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. That seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every Muslim. Those knowledges that are fard ayn, that are an individual responsibility, they are obligatory upon every Muslim. Those things that are an individual responsibility are obligatory upon every Muslim. The proper beliefs, this is an individual responsibility. We can't say, no, our father got good aqidah, so that's fine for the family now. No. Can't say, my ummi has good aqidah, it's good for the family. No. Every person has to have the good aqidah and good minhaj. Everyone. Now, likewise, praying. Everybody has to pray. There's no excuse not to pray, except for the excuse that the Sharia has given. Right? Except for the excuse that the Sharia has given. But we know this is in an isolated incident for who? For the sisters, for the women, when they're upon their menses, right? Then how they demonstrate ibadah upon their menses is by being compliant to the rules and regulations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not offering a salah, because they haven't been allowed to at that time. Right? So they have to know the rules and regulations of those times when they're not permitted to pray. So when they have their menses, after having a baby, and the bleeding that follows thereof, right? So on and so forth. Okay? Then these are the times where they hold back. Right? But other than that, then what? You have to pray. If you can't stand up, you say, well, okay, I can't pray, I can't stand up. No, then you pray what? Sitting down. You can't sit down because that's your situation. Right? Then what happens? Then you pray what? Laying down. You can't move your limbs because that's the situation. Then what do? Move with your eyes. Do your best you can do. You can't move your eyes, and what you do the best you can do. But it's never an excuse, is it? You can't find water. It's okay, you don't got to pray. Prayer is removed for you now. No, you make tayammum. You can't find water, you can't find dirt. Then what you do? You pray upon your situation. You pray upon that state. You pray Allah to the best of your ability. This is the relaxation that the Deen gives you. This is the openness and the flexibility that the Deen gives you. You do what you can do. But what do you never hear? Okay, then you can skip that prayer. No, that's not an option. You pray upon the hal that you're upon. If you can't make wudu, there's no water, there's no dirt, there's no nothing, but that you tried everything, you exhausted yourself, but you couldn't find any way, then you pray like that. You pray like that. But it's never, okay, you don't pray. No, you always have to pray. There's no excuse. You can't say, oh, I was in class, I had a big test. Okay? You pray. Right? If there's a doctor, right, and he's inside of the breast cavity of an individual and he's doing a surgery and the time for salat come in, what do we tell the doctor? Don't worry about it. You can skip that prayer. No, we tell him pray when you can pray at your first time of availability. And this is the flexibility of Islam. Islam doesn't say, no, just pray, call the prayer, let the person die on the table. No. You make sure you do your best in that operation and so on and so forth. But once you have finished and concluded, and that thing that prevented you is no longer there because the surgery is done, the guy is in recovery right now, then what do you got to do? You got to pray. And that means you have to make up dhuhr or combine the dhuhr with the asr, because the time you finish is asr time now. You get a chance to pray dhuhr. Now you pray dhuhr and asr in the time of what? Of asr. You pray at the first available time. You understand? These things we have to do. So ala kullin, turning away from the likes of these things is inexcusable. There's no excuse to turn away from these things. And if a person were to do such, then this is from the things that will negate an individual's Islam. This is from that which will negate an individual's Islam. طيب. The Shaykh says, فَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ هَذِهِ الْأُصُولِ وَالْكَوَاعِدِ وَأَبَى أَنْ يَقْبَلَهَا وَأَبَى أَنْ يَتَعَلَّمَهَا وَأَبَى أَنْ يَعْمَلَ بِهَا فَإِنَّهُ يَكُونُ كَافِرًا كُفْرُ إِعْرَاض. He said that if a person were to turn away from these fundamentals and these principles, and they refuse to accept them, and they refuse to learn about them, and they refuse to perform them and act by way of them, then this individual has become a kafir with the type of kufr that's called i'rad. I'rad. Naam. Which brings us now, because the ulama, they say that disbelief is of 4 types. So I want you to write this down now. Disbelief is of 4 types. وَقَدْ قَسَمَ الْكُفْرِ إِلَى أَرْبَعَ أَقْسَامٍ. And kufr, disbelief, has been broken down into 4 types. This is important. This here is very important. I want everyone to get it, to write it down, inshallah ta'ala, and to take note of it, and to memorize the 4 types of disbelief. And remember the 4 types of disbelief. طيب. The first type is the one we just went over. Kufr al-i'rad. The disbelief of turning away. Individual, he arrogantly turns his way, turns his back on, he don't want nothing to do with the deen of al-Islam, so on and so forth. Then, bila shak wa bila rayb, this is kufr. This person is a disbeliever. Try to give them da'wah, try to call them to Islam, say, I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear about no Muslim stuff. Then of course that person is what? Kafir. No one's going to think, well, maybe he's really a Muslim. No, he's a kafir. He's a kafir. But yeah, that makes sense. The second type is kufr at-takdhib. Kufr at-takdhib. The kufr of takdhib, this is when one belies Islam. He doesn't believe it as being true. You see? Now this is different from i'rad, because i'rad, person here want nothing to do with it. I don't want to do this, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to get it away from me. This is i'rad. Person just totally turns away from it. He don't want nothing to do with Islam. Right? Whereas with takdhib, this doesn't necessarily mean that a person doesn't want to learn about it. Right? He might learn about it, but he don't believe in it. He might know something about it, but he doesn't believe in it. He don't believe in it. You understand? He'll let you give him da'wah, but he don't believe nothing you say. He said, no, I don't believe in none of that. This is called kufr at-takdhib. And this is like the kufr of who? Of the Quraysh, of the kuffar Quraysh. Because see, the kuffar of Quraysh, they knew the meaning of La ilaha illallah. They understood the meaning of La ilaha illallah. They knew it. So it wasn't like they didn't know what La ilaha illallah meant. They knew what it meant. They just didn't believe in it. They didn't believe in it. Naam. So this kufr of takdhib, this is like the kufr of who? Of the Quraysh. This is a disbelief of denial or belying. They belie it. Now, then you have kufr al-inad, the kufr of inad, which is obstinate rebellion. Obstinate rebellion. Okay? Again, this is not, or not again, but we should say, this is not from takdeeb. This is not saying a person doesn't know it's true. They know it's true. They just obstinately rebel against it. They know Islam is the haqq. And they tell you, I know Islam is the haqq. But, they say but is a really big word. I know Islam is the haqq, but I'm still going to obstinately turn away. Okay? This, the Shaykh, he says, كَكُفْرِ Iblis. This is like the disbelief of Iblis. See, Iblis, la'natullah alayhi, may Allah curse him, may the curse of Allah be upon him, he knows Islam is the truth. Right? He knows Islam is the truth. He believes in Allah Ta'ala. He knows Allah is real. Right? But he what? But he obstinately rebels. He obstinately rebels. So therefore what? This is kufr. He refuses. He refuses to abide by Islam. He refuses to submit himself to Allah. He refuses to listen to Allah. So therefore what? Due to his obstinate rebellion, he is a kafir. Also, you know who's like this? Because we gave you an example, Iblis. That's an example from which type of mankind? From the jinn. Because mankind it could be what? It could be, mankind includes jinns and who? And humans. Right? Jinn and humans. But so let's give an example from the human. From the human sort. From the humans, this is like the example of Fir'aun wa qawmuh. This is like the example of Fir'aun and his people. So have the kufr of Fir'aun wa qawmuh, the disbelief of Fir'aun and his people. It was a disbelief of obstinate rebellion. They knew Islam was the haqq. They knew it was the haqq, but they obstinately rebelled. But the proof of this can be found in Surah An-Nahl, in Surah An-Naml. Surah An-Naml. In its verse 14, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَقَيْنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ. شوف, ظُلْمًا وَعُلُوًّا. He says, what translated means, and they denied them, meaning those ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they denied them wrongfully and arrogantly. They denied them wrongfully and arrogantly. ظُلْمًا وَعُلُوًّا. Wrongfully and arrogantly, although their own selves were convinced of them. You see, although their own selves were convinced of them. وَاسْتَقَيْنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ. Their own selves knew was the haqq. Inside of their chest, they knew the deen of Musa was the haqq. They know that what Musa and Harun alayhimussalatu was calling them to was the truth. They knew Islam was the truth. But still with that, they arrogantly and wrongfully hid this inside of their chest and refused to accept it. Because they were obstinately rebellious. You see? Or they were obstinately rebellious. So this is the third type. The fourth type, kufr al-shirk, is the disbelief of polytheism. The disbelief of polytheism. So you have kufr al-shirk billah, the kufr of shirk. The Shaykh, he says, بأن يعتقد لله شريكا, that a person believes that Allah has partners. The person believes that Allah has partners, like the Christians. They believe in the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, as they say. A'udhu billah. They believe that Allah is one of three. that he has two partners. A'udhu billah. Naam, this is kufr. This is kufr. We want to understand these things. It becomes unfathomable to think that there will be Muslims who believe that the Christians are believers. Kaif? How? How to be a believer? You believe that Allah has two partners. A'udhu billah. At least two partners. When you go to the Catholics and all the saints they pray to, you can add them as well. Right? So this type of polytheism, then this is kufr. This is disbelief. Naam. So you have fourthly the disbelief of polytheism. And this is to believe that Allah has a partner. وَأَن يَعْتَقِدَ بِأَنَّ الْأَوْلِيَاءَ لَهُمْ مَقَامٍ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, and to believe that the saints have a position with Allah. That the saints have a position, meaning that they have a portion of uluhiyyah that belongs to them. That Allah has allowed a portion of uluhiyyah to go to the saints. A'udhu billah. So you can call upon this one that he's a saint of the traveler. This one is a saint for little kids. That one is the saint for, I don't know, forest men. That one is the saint for whatever in them. In that. You see? Their belief that these individuals have a share of worship, then this is polytheistic. This is disbelief. And it shows you here the danger of the Sufiya, because this is what they call their followers too. Okay? That the awliya, they have some kind of station. They have some kind of station. So if you're in trouble, you can call upon Wali so and so, he'll help you. If you need something, you can call upon Wali such and such, and he'll help you. La, there is no dua, no istighatha, no isti'ana for any of these things. All of that belongs to Allah and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. The Shaykh, he says, وَيَتَخِذُهُمْ وَسَائِقٌ وَيَعْبُدُهُمْ مِنْ أَجْلِ ذَلِكَ. So they take them as intermediaries and they worship them due to this. They take them as intermediaries and they worship these saints due to this. Right? So this is no doubt disbelief. Right? Then you have some of the ulama, they bring a fifth type. A fifth type. Remember we said that there are four types, right? Some ulama, they mention a fifth type. Some mention a fifth type. Right? The Shaykh, he says, وَأَمَّا نِفَاقُ الْإِعْتِقَادِ. But with regards to the nifaq of i'tiqadi, the nifaq of belief, because you remember nifaq is of two types. You have nifaq al-i'tiqadi, a nifaq of belief, hypocrisy of belief, and you have a nifaq al-amali. You have a hypocrisy of actions, meaning a person is acting like a hypocrite. Okay, he's acting like a hypocrite. Okay, that means, for example, the Prophet ﷺ gave us those characteristics. When he talks, he lies. When he argues, he gets belligerent. So on and so forth. Right? When he's entrusted, he betrays the trust, and so on and so forth. These are the actions of nifaq. These are the actions of nifaq. But having these actions or these traits, they are despicable, nasty, heinous traits, but it doesn't expel one from Islam. That which will expel one from Islam is what? Is the nifaq al-i'tiqadi. And this is what? To show Islam, right? To show the people that you're a Muslim, but in your heart, you don't believe in Islam. You act like you're a Muslim, but in your heart, you don't believe nothing in Islam. You're just acting like a Muslim for an alternative reason, because you have an alternative agenda or whatever. So the Shaykh, he says, فَيُمْكِن, he says, it is possible, and يُعَدَّ نوعًا خامسًا, it's possible to say that there is a fifth type. Right? He said it's possible to say it's a fifth type. So if you read a book from the ulama and they said there are 5 types of disbelief, and they mentioned nifaq as being the fifth type, then okay, no problem. It's okay, right? To say, he said it's possible you can say there's a fifth type. He says, وَيُمْكِنْ أَن يُقَالِ, he said, but also it is possible to say فَإِنَّهُ دَاخِلْ فِي كُفْرِ تَكْذِيبٍ. He said it's also possible to say that it actually enters into the disbelief of denial, or the disbelief of belying. And the disbelief of belying is which category? The second. Now, is the second category. The disbelief of denial. Okay? That you just belie it. You say, nah, I just, no, don't believe in it. Belie it. Okay? So if you will enter this fifth one, kufr nifaq, if you enter it into the second one, then it will just be 4. Right? But if an alim wanted to specify that particular point, then, and he said 5, then it's acceptable. It's acceptable. However, most ulama, they say that there are 4. The Shaykh, he says, يعني ولكنهم أظهروا التصديق وأبطنوا تكذيب. He said, but you find that these ones, these hypocrites, they show like they really believe, and they hide their disbelief. They hide their belying, or their belial. طيب. The Shaykh, he says, وقد عد أنواع الكفر أربعا كل من. He said, and you find that all of the following, they mention that kufr is of 4 types, and from them Imam al-Sun'ani. Imam al-Sun'ani in Udda, he mentions that kufr is of 4 types, and he brought these types. Well, Shaykh al-Hafiz al-Hakami, he also mentioned that they are 4 types. Naam. وعد شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب 5. But the Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, he mentioned that there are 5, and he specified al-kufr al-nifaq al-i'tiqadi. نعم, الكفر النفاق الاعتقادي. The Shaykh, he says, ولكن الخامس يمكن أن يكون داخلا في التكذيب كما قلت. He said, but you can say that the 5th category actually enters into the 2nd of takdhib, like I previously said. He said, وهذا الذي يظهر لي, and this is what is more apparent to me. And this is what Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi is saying. This is what's strongest of opinion as regards to him, is that it's only 4 types, because the 5th type actually enters into the 2nd type. The Imam, he goes on to conclude this tremendous book, and he says, وَلَا فَرْقٍ, and I want you to pay attention to this. He says, وَلَا فَرْقٍ في جميع هذه النواقض بين الهازل والجاد والخائف والمكر إلا المكره. He said, and there is no distinction with regards to all of the 10 nullifiers of Islam that were mentioned, or with regards to these nullifiers of Islam. There is no distinction between the one who commits them out of jest. Someone does it saying he playing. He starts doing magic, and he said, but I'm just playing. Right? Then we say, no. There's no playing around that. Person commits shirk, you say, nah, I'm just playing. There's no distinction. There's no distinction. He will have committed a nullifier, that which nullified his Islam. There's no distinction between the one who was playing and the one who's serious. Nor is there any distinction from the one who is scared. Right? Can't say, I was scared, so I did it. No. The Shaykh, he says, except for the one who was forced. Except for the one who was forced. Can't say, no, I was scared. No. If you forced, that's different. But he can't say, no, I was scared. No. The Shaykh, he says, وَكُلُّهَا مِنْ أَعْظَمِ مَا يَكُونُ خَطَرًا. He said, and all of these things are from the most dangerous of affairs. They're from the most dangerous of things. وَمِنْ أَكْثَرِ مَا يَكُونُ وُقُوعًا. And unfortunately, they are also from the things that you find people falling into the most. You find this, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. You'll find Muslims, and they'll have on their social networking pages, and my sign is such and such. What's your sign? A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. There's so many other examples, and people believe in doing magic, and believing that there are intermediaries between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on and so forth. People hating aspects of Islam, and so on and so forth from the nullifiers. That you find that the people fall into them a lot. This is why the ulama, they will stress and they will constantly teach the likes of these things, so that the Muslims know what to avoid and what to stay away from. This is why these things are very, 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 very important. This is why we stress in the beginning classes that those who have the ability to memorize the text of this small book in totality, memorize it. Memorize it. So that this way, wherever you go, you'll have it with you. Wherever you go, you'll have it with you. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, فَيَنْبَغِي لِلْمُسْلِمِ أَنْ يَحْذَرَهَا وَيَخَافَ مِنْهَا عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. and it is incumbent, binding upon a Muslim that he bewares of the nullifiers of Islam, and he fears them for himself, that he fears them from him, that they will fall upon him, that he's scared that he himself will fall into them. The Shaykh, he says, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِن مُوجِبَاتِ غَضَبِهِ وَأَلِيمِ عِقَابِهِ. He said, and we seek refuge in Allah from that which will make us worthy of, or that which necessitates His anger and His extremely and tremendously painful punishment. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى خَيْرِ خَلْقِهِ مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِهِ وَصَحْبِهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon the best of His creation, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his family and his companions. Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi rahimahullah ta'ala, in conclusion, he says, وهذه خاتمة التي أوصى بها رحمه الله تعالى أن يحذر الإنسان المسلم من وقوع في شيء من هذه النواقض. He said, in this ending, this conclusion, the author rahimahullah ta'ala, he advises, he gives the strong, powerful advice to the Muslim to beware, to the Muslim man or Muslim human being or Muslim individual, to beware of these things and beware of falling into these things which would nullify their Islam. بأن يقوله أو يفعله جادا أو جادة, whether they do it, whether they say something from them or they do an action from them seriously, intending to do that, أو هازلا, or they do so jestfully and playing, and so on and so forth. إذ إن من قال شيء من هذه النواقض على سبيل الهزل يدل فعله على الاستخفاف بالشريعة. It's a very important point to understand. He said, because if it was the case that an individual, he did something from these, or he said something from these things which would nullify the Islam, and he did it playing, then this action of his, يدل فعله, his action will point to the fact that he's making light of the Sharia, that he's making jest of the Sharia. He doesn't find any weight to it, but he's like disrespecting it, deeming it to be insignificant, and so on and so forth, making fun of it almost, right? Making fun of the Sharia. So of course, such a thing, then this is kufr. A person playing around like that, then this is kufr. The Shaykh, he says, وَتَجَرُّ عَلَى مَا يُنَاقِضُ, or it was shown that he is reckless to engage and to be involved, in these things which would nullify and contradict the Islam, and nullify individuals' Islam. He's dangerous, dangerous enough and reckless enough to risk this. The Shaykh, he says, فَلَا يَجُوزِ الْمُسْلِمْ أَن يَقُولَ شَيْئًا مِنَ الْأَقْوَالِ الشِّرْكِيَّةِ عَلَى سَبِيلِ الْهَزْلِ. He says, so it's not permissible for someone to say something from the statements of shirk playing around. Right? Person want to make a joke and he starts swearing by all these false deities and calling upon this. This is not permissible. This is not permissible. Person is playing around, he wants to make a joke and he starts chanting out some of the chants of shirk. It's not permissible. And he said, but I'm just joking. No, it's not permissible. Because this is making light of the deen and disrespecting the religion. The Shaykh, he says, أو يستهزأ بشيء من دين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أو ثوابه أو عقاب على سبيل الهزل, or playfully and justfully he starts making fun of something from the deen of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like he makes fun of the way the Muslims pray, or they make fun of an aspect of the deen. They start making fun of the aspect of the deen, making fun of the beard, making fun of the hijab, and things of this nature, right? Even though they may say, oh, but we're just playing around and making light of it, or they're making fun of the rewards, or they're making fun of the punishments, right, and the like, then this is kufr. The Shaykh, he says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَمِيعَ النَّوَاقِضِ and also for all of the other types. This is applicable for all of the other things, or all the other nullifiers of al-Islam. لا يجوز أحد أن يستخفف بذلك ويعمل شيئا منها أو منه. He said that it is not permissible for a person to make light and make jest of any one of these things, nor for him to act in accordance to it. نعم. فإن ذلك مثل ما يقال, and this is like what they say. The Shaykh is what he said. He said this is like what they say. اللعب بالنار, playing with fire. So this is like, as they say, playing with fire. اللعب بالنار, playing with fire. He said لعظم خطورتي. He said due to the greatness of its danger, due to the magnitude of its danger, and due to the magnitude of the crime, وإثم, and the magnitude of the sin. Shaykh, he says فالحذر الحذر. He says, so beware, beware. The Shaykh, he says وأما مكره, but the one who is forced, the one who is forced to commit one of these things, فقد ورد فيه نص في كتاب الله حين أن عمار بن ياسر تحت العذاب وما زالوا به حتى ذكر آليتهم بخير. That Ammar bin Yasir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they were torturing him. They were torturing him, right? And they let him know that we're going to continue to torture you until you say something good about our gods, right? The torture is not going to stop until you say something good about our gods. فجاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وقال الصحابة كفر عمار. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. They said that Ammar has become a kafir. Ammar has become a disbeliever because he spoke good about their gods, so that the torture will stop. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما كفر عمار. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said Ammar, he didn't become a kafir. He said he did not become a kafir. He said إن عمار ملي إيمانا من أخمصه إلى مشاشه. He said that no, Ammar, he did not become a kafir. Rather, Ammar, he is filled with iman from the bottom of his feet to the top of his person. He's filled with iman from the bottom of his feet to the top of his person. Naam. فأنزل الله عز وجل الآية في سورة النحل. So Allah, he sent down the ayah that can be found in Surah An-Nahl in his verse 106. إلا من ukriha, except for the one who he is forced. Illa man ukriha, except for the one who he's forced out of compulsion to do something. Wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman, but his heart is certain, his heart is at peace with iman. He has certain iman inside of his chest. Naam. And the Shaykh, he goes on and he mentions, and this is very important. So for the one who is forced to do something, then we understand the case. Now, but the Shaykh, he says, وَقَوْلِ الشَّيْخِ وَالْخَائِفِ. The Shaykh, he says, okay, the one who was forced, but he excluded from that the one who is scared. It's very important. He excluded from that the one who is scared. يعني الخائف مجرد الخوف لا يباح له. The one who's scared just because he's scared and there's no reason for him. You see? He's not being tortured or anything like this. Nothing's happening to him. He's just scared to be scared. He's just frightful to be frightful. So for this, then, it hasn't reached the point that he is allowed to do this. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَا يَعُدُّ مُكْرَهًا, and he is not considered one who is forced إلا إذا أحس بعذاب, except if he fears or he senses that they're about to start torturing him or something like this, أو هدد بالقتل, or that this may result in his being murdered. وما أشبه ذلك, then that's different. And that which is like it, then that's different. If he senses that no, he has some serious reason to believe that they're about to start torturing me or they're about to kill me, and so on and so forth. And then at that point, then it will reach the point where he is forced and he is compelled to do these things. The Shaykh says, "Lakin, but hunaka mas'ala." But there is an issue here. The Shaykh says that we have to point out. Mas'ala ينبغي التنبيه عليها. There's an issue that we have to point out. The Shaykh says, وهي, and it is, هل الإكراه يكون عذرا في القول والفعل أو في قول فقط. He said, now this is an issue now. Is compulsion an excuse when it comes to a statement and an action, or just for a statement? Is compulsion applicable, right? An excuse when it comes to a statement and an action, or just a statement? The Shaykh, he says, هذا محل النظر. This is the point that we got to look at right now. He says, if in Ammar bin Yasir, ما سجد لآلهته أو لآلهتهم. He said because Ammar, he didn't prostrate to their gods. He didn't prostrate. He didn't do any action. ولا طاف بها. And he didn't do any tawaf. نعم. ولا ذبح لها. And he didn't slaughter for them. ولكن قال بلسانه قولا. But he just said a statement with his tongue. You understand? He didn't do anything. He didn't do any action. He just made a statement. فهل الفعل يكون مثل ذلك? He says, so can we say that doing an action is like this? Can we say that acting and carrying out an action also will enter into this? The Shaykh, he says, من طلب منه أن يسجد للصنم أو يفعل شيئا من أفعال التي تعد شركا أكبر. He said, like for example, if a person, he is requested from him that he prostrate to a statue, or that he does something from the actions that equate to shirk, major shirk. فَهَلْ يَجُوزْ لَهُ ذَلِكَ? Is this permissible for him? ترخيصا بفعل أمار الذي نزلت فيه الآية. Can he say that no, we can do this and we have license due to the ayah that was revealed with regards to Ammar? Can we say that? The Shaykh says, الفعل أمار الذي حصل منه إنما هو بالقول. He said that which had taken place from Ammar, that which he did in actuality, verily it was not but a statement. He only made a statement. Naam, he only made a statement. He said, وحديث دخل جنة الرجل في ذبابة ودخل النار رجل في ذبابة, that there was a man who entered into Jannah due to a fly, and a man who entered into the hellfire due to a fly. And then the Shaykh, he says, in sahha, if it is authentic, because this hadith actually has been collected by Imam Ahmad and others, but it's a hadith that is mawqufan. It stops on Salman al-Farisi. It stops on Salman al-Farisi, and ضعفه al-Albani في السلسلة الضعيفة. And Imam al-Albani, he graded the hadith as being da'if. Graded the hadith as being da'if. Right? This is why the Shaykh, he brings it up, not necessarily as a proof, but as yani, something for you to think about. He's not using it saying it's a proof, and the point of that, he's saying if it is authentic, which is an indication that he's telling you that what, that it has some problems in its chain, and more than likely it's not authentic. طيب على كل, the Shaykh, he says, فهو دليل على تفريق بين القول والفعل. He said, then this will be a point or a reference to show that there is a difference between a statement and an action. نعم. إذ إن الآخر يعني الذي قرب ذبابا يحتمل أن يكون مكرها. He said, because the one who had to put forth as a sacrifice a fly, then he will, yani, is possible you can say that he was forced, right? ويحتمل أنه يعتقد جواز ذلك, or it can be understood that he thought that it was permissible. You know, so when you look at the textual of this narration, even though we're saying it's not authentic, when you look at it and how it reads, the wording of it, it renders two possibilities. The one who slaughtered the fly, right? It could be because he was forced, or it could be because he believed it was okay. We have no indication from the wording which one it was. So it could be this or it could be that, right? So the Shaykh, he said that has to be kept in mind. He said, فَإِنْ كَانَ يَعْتَقِي جَوَازْ ذَلِكَ, and if it was the case that he actually believed you can do it, فَإِنَّهُ دَخَلَ النَّارِ بِسَبَبِ الْاعْتِقَادِ, then he will enter into the fire because of his belief. نعم. وَإِنْ كَانَ مُكْرَهًا فَإِنَّهُ يَكُونُ كُلُّ مَا قَدِمَهُ الْمُسْلِمُ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ أو قَدَمَهُ مُسْلِمُ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. He said that if he was forced, then it says like everyone or every the case for the one who, or the Muslim who puts something forward for other than Allah Ta'ala. وَإِنْ كَانَ قَلِيلًا, and even if it's small, like in this case, كَالذَّبَابِ, like a fly, أو كبيرا كالجمل, or it is big like a camel, فإنه يعتبر ذلك قد خرج من الإسلام واستحق النار, then this will necessitate that an individual, he will leave the Islam and he will be worthy of the fire. That if we were to take this narration upon this and say, okay, even if they're forced, then actions won't enter into that, because the person enters into the fire for something as small as a fly, all the way, whether it was as small as a fly or as big as a camel, this one entered the fire before a fly, right? So therefore, this will give us some type of indication that actions don't enter into what it means to be compelled to do something. The Shaykh says, أَنَّ الْإِقْرَاءِ إِنَّمَا يَكُونُ فِي الْقَوْلِ دُونَ الْفِعْلِ. He said, so therefore we will understand that being forced and compelled is only as relates to statements to the exclusion of actions. وَبِلَا التَّوْفِيقِ, and with Allah is a success. عَلَى كُلٍّ, the Shaykh, he's saying this to say that when it comes to this particular issue, basically we have a clear proof. We have a clear proof with regards to if you're forced to make a statement, then you make the statement, you have a proof for you. But when it comes to an action, you don't have any clear proof as with regards to an action. Okay? You don't have any clear proof as with regards to an action. So the Shaykh, he is censoring and warning from doing actions of disbelief, even though you may feel that you have been forced. To be careful, because there is no clear proof. And if this narration is authentic, then actually it will be a proof that actions don't enter into what it means to be forced and to be compelled, right? But ala kullin, although we know that this narration is not authentic, we still have no clear proof that says that it's okay for us to do an action if we are forced of kufr. To do an action if we are forced of kufr. Like a person, and he says, okay, you're going to take me to church and you're going to sing all the hymns with me and do all the prayers and so on and so forth. And the person can't say, no, I was forced, I had to go. This is very important to point out, especially here in this country. We have a lot of people who claim being forced and they're not really being forced, but you'll find that they went to church on Mother's Day or they went to church on Easter because the mother or the grandmother wanted them to do so, and so on and so forth. And they'll bring this as an excuse. My mom's made me do, or my father, or I had to. My grandmother, she gave me the guilt trip, so I had to take her. No, you did not have to take her. No. And this is important to point out that even if this was the case, there is some serious doubt whether or not actions enter into that. Even if this was the case. But we know in your case, this was not the case. And this is to help us to stress these issues and to stress staying away from kufr and to stress staying away from all shirk and all types and actions of kufr and actions of shirk in all shapes, forms, and fashions. Now, makes sense? Yeah. And the Shaykh, he says, وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. So with that, likewise, نكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا.